Hello and welcome to RapLoupe, the podcast by RapNet, where we speak with leaders and experts shaping the future of global diamond and jewelry industry. I am Sati Nair and I will be your host for today's episode. India has long been the heart of the global diamond industry, especially cutting and polishing the majority of the world's diamonds cutting in India, and which plays a central role in the global jewelry supply chain. But today, the industry is navigating a complex moment, from shifting global demand and changing consumer behavior to evolving trade policies and the growing role of technology. The landscape is rapidly transforming. In this episode, we are discussing India's diamond industry at Crossroads, policy, trade, and global competitiveness. To help us explore this topic, we are joined by Mr. Colin Shah, Managing Director of Kama Jewellery and former Vice Chairman of Gem and Jewellery Export Promotion Council. With the decades of experience across manufacturing, exports, and industry leadership, Mr. Colin Shah has been closely involved in shaping the conversation around Indian diamond sector. In fact, he has played a major role in policy setting and everything. Colin, it's a pleasure to have you with us today on the RapLoupe. What my understanding that before, you are coming from not from a diamond industry family, or you're completely coming from a doctor's family. Tell me a little bit about the journey, about your way to the industry.
So, thank you for having me over. My dad was a gynecologist and surgeon. So, growing up in a doctor family, you want to become a doctor. And, in those times, we only had science, arts, commerce, if you remember.
Yes,
So either you
yes.
became a doctor engineer, or you became an architect, or you joined your father's business. You took commerce,
Yes,
and
yes.
that's how it was. So, I took up science, and 87 was the Mandal Commission year. So we were the affected batch that after our 12th, we had to do the medical entrance exam again. I got into, Pune Medical College, but one of my best friends had to go through like a lot of ragging in those times. So after seeing his experience, I decided I don't want to go to Pune, and I changed over to commerce, and I did this diamond grading course at that time with the Gemological Institute of India, which was run by GJPC. It still is running in Mumbai Devi
Yes.
Gurukul Chambers. So that's what, started my diamond journey. And after learning about diamonds, I got it into, learned polished assortment, rough diamond manufacturing, learned a little bit about jewelry. And somehow jewelry seemed to be my calling. I got into it, started Kama when I was 25, and it's been a good journey so far.
Yeah, the time when you started, it was, I don't think many people even know about the diamond grading learning or something like that. That's the time you have actually entered into. It's been many years actually. It's been almost like 25, 30 years you are in the industry.
30 years this year.
So, 30 years you are in the... yes, Kama has finished,
Kama finished
celebrated
30 years.
30 years actually. Congratulations, Colin,
Thank you.
for that. And tell me your experience from 30 years till what changes you see from 30 years before and now in the industry.
We can write a book on that question, but
lot of changes.
Lot of changes, that's for sure. So one thing I would say, see, at that time when I entered the industry, the roughs, let's look at the different sections in the pipeline. So the rough was controlled by De Beers, more or less. They had contracts with Russia and Angola and everyone. So I mean, there was a lot of stability on the whole rough front, right? Then that was also a time when Diamonds Are Forever, all the campaigns were happening. So there was a lot more, I would say, confidence in natural diamonds, which used to be there in those times. US obviously was a very large market and continues to be a large market, but India was not such a large market. And China had still not emerged as a, any kind of market for diamond jewelry, especially. So we've really seen in the last 3 decades the whole evolution of say De Beers breaking up and all these miners coming, and so the stability which we had on rough has obviously gone away. On polished diamonds also, if you see, there was a time when you knew for sure that every year diamond prices will go up by 3-5%, 10% also some years. But say 5%, if you see, that was more or less the CAGR for those 20 years. But last 5-7 years, that's also gone away.
Yeah.
So, if you see the stability on rough, the stability on polish went away. On the jewelry side, what we have seen is that most of the jewelry at that time was manufactured in the West. And what changed in the last 3 decades is that now most of the jewelry is manufactured in the East. So whether it's India, China, Thailand, I mean these parts of the world. And now we are exporting to most of the Western nations.
Yes.
So when we were going through, say, our journey for the first decade, we were answering those questions that, oh, you all have started manufacturing jewelry also. Now nobody asks that question.
Yes.
When you go and visit a customer now in the US or Europe. So that obviously, besides this, of course, a lot of things changed. Lab
Yes.
grown happened. I mean, I guess our industry has gone through all kinds of disruptions in the last few decades.
In fact, in the beginning, actually, only De Beers was supplying the rough. That has been changed,
Yeah,
and a
yeah.
lot of other players also came in. Auction starter, rough auctions, that's came in, and like you said, the consumption of India in polished natural diamonds in India has increased. Everything has, but predominantly US still become the more than the first number of consuming natural diamonds, and jewelry manufacturing maximum happening in India, and in fact, like you said, we are exporting. In fact, you have been associated with, in fact, even with the manufacturing. What changes you see in terms of, or what challenges you see it in terms of manufacturing of jewelry or polished diamonds in India?
I actually don't see any challenge. I'm really seeing a lot of opportunity, I guess, in the next 1, 2, 3, or 5 years maybe. I think we'll see further consolidation of the trade. So say the early, in my 30 years, the first 10, 20 years, you had many companies and, it was fragmented, the industry. We are seeing this consolidation happening all over the world. So of course there are few miners, there'll be fewer diamond and cutting polishing players than they used to be. So earlier, say there were at least 500 people who were maybe importing roughs every month, which has now become not even 100. Okay, so the number has completely changed. I guess there are, like, and as RapNet, you probably know the number of people who list diamonds on your on the portal has reduced drastically over the years, right? I mean, in terms of the number of stones which
It's consolidated into
few
certain
companies.
players,
Yeah,
actually,
yeah.
with the maximum people. In terms of buyers, we still have increased numbers.
Yeah. So, but in terms of manufacturing, it has
Yeah.
reduced. And we are seeing the same thing happening even on the jewelry manufacturing side, where there'll be, say, of course, there'll be many companies. And if you see even IHS or Vegas or Hong Kong recently,
Yes.
of course, there are more than a couple of thousand manufacturers. But the size of business is consolidating, I would say, in the top 20, 30 companies. So, I guess that 80-20 rule is really applying to our industry. And if you see even on the retail side, you have large chain stores and the brands who are, say, controlling maybe 80% of the business. And then the independent jewelers have, like 20-25% of the business maybe globally. So we are seeing that happening across the pipeline is a massive consolidation. Another thing which is really happening is technology. So even on the jewelry side, you will very soon have metal 3D printers, lot more happening in CNC, a lot more happening on the whole AI front. So unfortunately for a country like India, uh, labor will not be a challenge, because we are so populated. We want industries which are more labor intensive, but our industry is going classically through a lot of tech changes, which will obviously lead to more automation, more robotics, and that kind of future in the very, next 1 to 3 years. So
Yes.
all these things are happening, and India is right at the forefront of all
Yeah.
these changes.
In fact, technology is also helping the players to take it forward. But in fact, rightly you said, the business is consolidated into mainly into few
Few hands, yeah.
few players.
Yeah, yeah.
And when we visit cities to city in India specifically, we see that a lot of chain retailers are everywhere. Having said that, we also see that a lot of business happening in the independent jewelers. I think that's not in, you don't see in the digital platforms or everywhere. Um, it's abundance of independent retailers are there in India. India still leads the cutting and polishing center, in fact. What do you think the biggest strengths for India? Because we are still holding the polishing, 95% of the polishing uh, in India only.
See, the biggest strength that India probably has is the skill. So the very fact that we've developed this skill over the last few decades of cutting and polishing is not something which is going to go away in a hurry. And since the sector's been in a little bit of degrowth on the natural side, in the last 5 years, you're not having other centers jumping into getting into cutting and polishing. So I think the industry will consolidate, within the Indian fraternity. We're not seeing any, say, foreign competition getting into it for the simple reason that the industry is going through, like it's shrinking, right? Overall, if you see polish exports are, close to half of what it used to be 5 years back.
Yes.
Yeah, so
Yes.
the industry is shrinking, and in a time like this, we don't see China or Thailand or any other center coming up very quickly in cutting and polishing. The only disruption which may happen is if it gets automated. So if it gets automated, and is able to do it at the precision at which right now
Yeah, that
our
could be
manufacturers in Surat are able to do it, then things may change. But right now it seems like we are safe.
Yeah, and we are very strong in the labor.
We are very strong in the labor.
The labor side, I think people cannot replicate it at the same way.
Not so easily.
Not so easily.
Not so easy. Not
And
so
you can't train also somebody outside India like that.
There's a training
biggest
cycle, so
advantage.
it's not so easy to
Yes.
do this overnight. Yeah.
Yes, and with the current situation, there are a lot of challenges we are facing it currently in the industry, like geopolitical situation, or the war or everything. What is the biggest challenges what we are having it in the industry at this point of time?
See, right now I guess the largest challenge that the industry faces is demand.
Yes.
I would say that's the biggest challenge. When there is demand, everything else falls in place. Right now, the big challenge is that this rising gold price, right, has given retailers many choices. So if you see today, they'd rather be selling watches or gold. Like, I don't know if you noticed, but today only I was reading an article on Rolex. They sold $14 billion of watches last year, for example. So imagine now one watch company is selling more than the polish exports of India. Okay. So the real issue is demand, that the consumer has changed globally and they're getting more inclined towards, spending on holidays, travel, experiences, watches, luxury in other kinds of luxury, clothes, and many other things. And it's not necessarily our category. And in our category, we are competing in a big way with plain gold. So if you look at today
Plain gold.
yeah, retailers in India, or you take even China or in the US, for example, right? A larger part of the counter space is now going to gold jewelry. Because not only are they making the appreciation on the metal, which has happened in the last 2-3 years, there is a millennial customer who now wants to buy plain gold.
Why it is? Because you think it is because of the rise in the gold prices which is happening? Because then people think that that's the best way to park the money.
It's the best way to invest, right? So all these years, natural diamonds was bought because they always thought that it's safe, my money is appreciating. So somehow the industry has to address, I guess, that part of it, that if they buy a solitaire, the money is safe and it will appreciate.
Yeah.
And the consumer, once they think that yes, that's happening, they will come back to natural diamonds. So I think we're just going through this phase where we're not only competing with the other sectors like travel and watches and things like that, but within our own sector also we're competing with gemstones, gold, all that different.
I think there has to be a collective effort to give that awareness to the end consumers that this natural diamond is valuable, it holds a value or something like that.
It does hold a value, and natural diamond is forever. And maybe things will get better in the long term, but in the short term, we are going through pain.
Yes, yes, yes.
Okay.
But I have seen in certain cities when I go, those retailers are, even small retailers are telling me like, there are times, for example, I was traveling into south part of India. So he said, unlike earlier, people were predominantly buying gold for weddings, 15% of their commitment, it's actually going towards a diamond. And also people are, because the gold prices are high, they are looking for smaller diamonds, like maybe 30 cents of natural diamond or 50 cents, so that at least they have something, they don't, they reduce the expenditure on the gold and they put some money
More
into the
money in
diamond. Diamond. So those kind of changes is also happening. But I also feel that it has to be, more off with the marketing also.
Yeah, question is who will do it. So,
Yeah, so
earlier we had De Beers who
that's
was doing the heavy lifting.
Yeah.
And now, that's the part which is missing. But I guess in the long term, it will be okay.
Yes. De Beers played a very important role in that point of time. Diamonds are forever. And you have played a very important role in GJPC during your time. Tell me a little bit about your experience in...
I mean, I had a wonderful experience personally. I got into the council. Actually, our term started when I guess the whole in 2018 when there was all the turmoil because of two companies, and that's when we started. So it started with that, and then when I became chairman was actually between the first and second lockdown. So of COVID pandemic.
Yes, yes.
So got a lot of good experience in working with difficult times, and I was lucky in that way that got to closely interact with government and industry because of all the challenges. And a few things that we did collectively as an industry at that time, especially, we voluntarily ceased imports of rough diamonds, which led to natural diamond pricing stabilizing. And then we saw, in 20, especially after the second lockdown, natural diamonds really making a comeback because of that whole move, because supply was down and demand was normal and everyone flourished.
Yes.
So, I was luckily, I guess, that, I got a lot of industry support, government support, and was able to do some good things for the industry.
It was the best time,
especially, through council.
Yes.
Another thing I'm very lucky and fortunate that I could do at that time was start Bharat Ratnam, which is the mega CFC which we have in SEEPs.
Yeah.
So again, that happened with government support, council support, and I'm very happy to say still, as head of the working group over there, it's actually doing very well. We work with nearly 80 factories now, and even brands globally. And
this is in SEEPs?
This is in SEEPs. Yeah. It's at the gates of SEEPs.
Yeah.
So no, council was a wonderful journey. We started, the UR Gold campaign with the World Gold Council. We did closely worked with Natural Diamond Council at that time. That's when we started the whole Real is Rare campaign. So a lot of good things got done, I would say, in those few years that I was able to.
And I know it was in fact very, and you are so much associated with the industry only also, that brings a lot of valuable insights.
We started our auction houses, the council auction houses.
Council auction houses.
Yeah, in Surat.
For the rough.
For rough trading,
Yes.
So that started. So
yes.
No, I would say it was quite very active.
Yes.
4 years. We did a lot of things.
Yeah. In fact, you have your brand Skama Jewellery has finished 30 years. Congratulations for that.
Thank you.
Tell me a little bit about the consumer behavior. Do you think the consumer behavior has changed or it's still the same?
No, consumer behavior has changed tremendously.
Yes.
I would say. It's like, maybe you mentioned it earlier when you spoke about your South retail experience. But say the consumer in India especially has gone from, say, used to be only investment led, in diamonds and jewelry in general. And today it is more design led. So I mean, they walk into a mall and if they like a design, they buy it. It's not like too much of thinking which is going beyond in buying that piece of jewelry which is below 1 lakh. And in Kama, we pride ourselves on manufacturing only between 20,000 and 1 lakh. So we make fast fashion jewelry, which is between that. And that's what I've done since the last 3 decades. So we've always been in those price points, whether it's
And
US and India. And it's fast fashion design led jewelry. And we're happy that, the demand is going now towards that direction.
and there are a lot of lightweight jewelries are actually going. People are actually,
Yeah,
daily wear,
Yeah.
presenting, gifting to themselves.
Yeah, so that's becoming a larger category in India than
Yes.
it used to be.
Yeah.
See, the consumer in India has evolved. Now they understand, and with all the travel and all the foreign brands being here and everything, they understand what a nice piece of jewelry or craftsmanship is. So they are not going to just buy by marketing. In the end, when they touch, feel the product, it should actually be superior in all ways. So it needs to be designed. There needs to be a story behind. It helps if there's a brand ambassador. So you need all the bells and whistles now to sell a piece of jewelry. It's
Yeah,
not that simple.
Yeah, because consumers are much more educated than it was in the
Yeah,
past.
they have much more education, exposure, and I guess there's a lot of influence today in their life because of social media, Instagram, all the OTT platforms. So there's a lot of digital exposure.
Yeah, that's what my next, that leads me to the next question. In fact, technology is shaping the way the diamonds are getting traded. What do you think, how does it influencing the trading in terms of jewelry or in terms of?
No, that's why the whole experience part is very important. That they will not buy just a diamond because it's a diamond. There needs to be some kind of story behind the diamond or the why. If you want me to, that why should they buy it,
Yes,
right?
yes.
So there needs to be the emotional part. There needs to be the ethical sourcing part. Where it came from. Why is it important? 5 billion years old. The whole storytelling.
Yes, yes.
And in the end, crafting a nice ring to go with it is what is making the whole difference to keep the diamond dream alive. In the end, it is still the ultimate gift of love.
Yes.
See, nobody denies that it's still, but the story of making sure that it stays the ultimate gift of love is very important when it comes to the retailer.
Yeah, correct. Because it's very important, not just in the diamond industry or diamond as a product. I think the storytelling, we have seen it in almost all the products. If it's a cloth brand they are making, how does the craftsmanship, how does the shipping, craftsmanship coming in. Everywhere it is important. I think everybody is now started selling their story. Now how the people are weaving this clothes or everything. You mentioned about ethical sourcing. I haven't seen, because during my travel with the retailers also, I haven't seen many people are asking ethical sourcing, where it is coming from in India. But in terms of global buyers or people sourcing it globally, they're asking ethical sourcing, they want to know whether it is coming from this place, that place. And you see that differences?
Yes and no. So even globally, if you see, there is an evolved customer. Okay, so if you go to US, for example, there's a customer who's in, say, New York, LA, San Francisco. And he or she is asking all these questions. But if you go to Middle America, they're not. The same is in India. That the evolved customer is definitely wanting to know where the diamonds came from, where the gold came from, whether it is ethically sourced. And they assume that if, say, it is a particular brand, okay, then that brand is ethically sourcing everything. So then that customer is automatically going to that brand, right? And then there is the customer who is only concerned with the price, value, some marketing, and that's enough for them. So customers are the same, I would say, globally. Okay, and in India, because of our sheer population, the number, even a small percentage of that customer is a large person. It must be the population of one of the European countries.
Yes.
So I think it's changing very rapidly in India, and in some sense, some of the large customers that we work with in India, okay, their sourcing requirements are much more stringent than the customers we work with globally.
Okay.
So it's not true.
I think it's from people to people.
Yeah, but the customers over here are equally, they're much more, I would say, doing a much more stricter factory audits, making sure that the diamonds are sourced in a particular way, the checking which they do, whether it comes to CVD testing, things like that, is much more stringent.
Okay, okay.
Much more stringent. So,
One final question.
yeah, sure.
What do you think Indian diamond industry needs to focus right now to remain globally competitive?
See, to stay globally competitive, first of all, we already are globally competitive.
Yes.
I mean, India is the destination for gems and jewelry. We've become the global capital of that many years back. And our exports today are more than China, Thailand, um, Hong Kong, Dubai, Turkey, Italy put together.
Yes. Yeah.
So we're already,
Yeah,
I
we
guess,
became the
there.
number 2, in fact.
Yeah. So to stay there, now what we'll need to do is, so there are some things that the trade probably needs from the government, right? And the SEZ reforms is one thing which will really help in getting brands over here. So if you see, if you go to China or Thailand, you'll see 80% of the companies in the zones over there are foreign, and only 20% maybe are local. While you come to India, you see very few foreign companies who are actually coming and manufacturing here. Okay, it's the Indian companies who are exporting globally. You don't have, say, the Cartiers and Tiffany's and Pandora. Those like the large brands are not yet manufacturing in India. So if our SEZ reforms happen and some of the ease of doing business measures that we've been recommending to the government are done, then that becomes one big low-hanging fruit that the foreign companies come to India to manufacture, which can help our exports. Like you see, Apple is manufacturing in India. It's already, like one of the largest exporters from India.
Yes,
So that's a
exactly.
small example in another industry, which, is very relevant to our industry. So that's one. Second is, I guess, this whole tech adoption, and which even our IT industry is going through in some sense. You're seeing it on the stock market in the
Yes.
last quarter, for example, where most of the IT companies have had this correction because of AI, right? Because of Anthropic and Chat GPT and all these guys, obviously taking all the lower hanging fruits in IT services. So the same thing is going to happen in our sector in the next, again, 1 to 3 years, with a lot of, I guess, the tech changes which we discussed earlier, like
Yeah.
3D printing and things like that. Now, our industry will have to adapt very quickly to all these changes which are happening. Now, if they adapt, then we'll be ahead of the curve compared to, say, our competing nations. But if we don't adapt, then, then we'll be left behind.
Yes.
So, a little government support and this quick tech adoption can help India leapfrog ahead and stay
Yes.
ahead in this sector.
Yes,
at
yeah,
least.
because right now we are more like make in India, manufacturing this. Some ease on the compliances that the foreign companies can come inside and, like
Yeah,
you said an example of Apple. I think Apple is exporting maximum from India.
Yeah.
Now the people, in fact, my daughter told me that, I bought a Apple phone which is manufactured in India.
Yeah. So that's a classic
Some
example.
ease can happen with the
And
government.
besides this, one thing which our government has started doing,
Yeah.
and I hope they do it very aggressively over the next 1-2 years, is these FTAs. So if you take a small country like Thailand, has more than 100 FTAs with countries globally, while India has started in the last couple of years now. So we have some catching up to do. But say if we had FTAs with 100 countries, that can really boost our exports.
Yes.
Because then we wouldn't have the barriers that we have today with many countries.
Exactly. Even you see how Dubai is changing. Dubai became a trading center for, in fact, which is easy to do business in Dubai.
So the good thing is that it's all happening.
Yeah.
And
It takes time.
we can hope
It
that
taking
in the
time,
next 1 to 3 years, a lot of all this will maybe
wish
ease out.
Yeah. We wish it can go a little bit aggressive also some this time. It was very insightful conversation, Mr. Colin Shah, and thank you for your sharing your insight. In fact, these informations are very insightful and very much needed at this complex situation of this industry. And for more conversation with leaders shaping the global diamond and jewelry industry, be sure to follow RapLoupe by RapNet. Until next time, thank you for listening. I'm Sati Naya signing off.